Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy, and we're going to do this 10 card spread, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives of how different people could be harnessing their Aquarius energy, because life's about learning lessons, and some people have learned some more lessons than some other people. We all have our more shadowy Aquarius energy, where it's just shadowy energy. We can be immature, prideful, egotistical, self-centered, lazy, lustful, greedy, selfish, the list goes on. And life's about kind of learning those lessons and looking at life from a higher perspective and having hope and faith and belief in yourself and in your dreams and kind of growing and maturing yourself. And some people have more so than others. And in this story that we might talk about, you might have some people who you think are kind of more immature or prideful or lazy. They in turn might know some people that they view that way. And so you kind of just got to put yourself in the story where you fit. And then Aquarius energy is air sign energy. And, it talks about kind of the perspective that we have. Are we more caught up in ourselves, more caught up in the world? We have free will. We can choose what's more important to us in life. Do we have hope and faith and belief in love and in ourselves and in others? Are we distrustful of others and get caught up in our head about believing in ourselves or trusting others? And so, in a sense, we all, like all the other zodiac signs, we all kind of tap into Aquarius energy. It's kind of the air sign energy that we could more invest in and align with when we're in the middle of something. We might tap into other air sign energy when we get into something. Then when we get into something, Aquarius is fixed sign energy. So that's kind of more what we can tap into when we're in the middle of a job, a friendship, or a relationship. And then Gemini energy is the air sign energy, I believe, that helps us transition out of things. So it can be hard. Aquarius energy can be about the dreams that we have for our life. And if we do put work and effort into certain things, we'd like them to work out. Sometimes we keep putting work and effort into things that we don't want to see the truth about. And we kind of deceive ourselves thinking it'll keep working out when it's kind of obvious it's not working out. And the whole thing is, everybody else has their Aquarius energy. And like all the other zodiac signs, we can harness our Aquarius energy in a more high vibe way, a more worldly way, a more shadowy way, and just be somewhere on the spectrum of learning these lessons. And we kind of tend to like to hang out with people who've kind of learned some of the same lessons as we have. So the truth sets us free. We just need to see the truth. With some people in our life, do we kind of have a similar truth? Are we kind of motivated by the same things? Do we kind of have the same dreams? If we're more worldly focused, are we in relationships with other people who are more worldly focused? If we kind of look at life and have more hope and faith and belief in love, are we in relationship with people like that or not? Because we can get in some mismatched relationships, and then that can be challenging. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's the Tree card, which says Virgo, and Virgo does kind of talk about what our long-term goals are and what our truth is. And we will put work and effort into those things that kind of drive and motivate us, that are aligned with our truth. If we're more worldly focused, self-focused, materialistic, indulgence focused, that's what we're going to put our work and effort into, probably. If our goal is to have a certain status and image in the world, and that's kind of the most driving factor, that's what we're going to put our effort into. High Vibe Virgo is about wanting to not be as manipulated by your shadow nature, by the world, by your ego, by your more shadowy nature, so that you can have a balance of things, true abundance. Yes, I want some of these things of the world, but I also want to be in stable, grounded, insightful, self-aware relationships based on truth and love. And so people are somewhere on the spectrum, and the trees can talk about the foundation that we operate from, our truth, and kind of who we want to align with, right? So let's go see what's going on in Aquarius energy. And this could be more affecting people who are an Aquarius sun sign or have significant Aquarius placements, but it in turn can affect us all because we all tap into Aquarius energy. So high vibe Aquarius energy and people who harness high vibe Aquarius energy have been illuminated to the truth that it's love. Love is what makes it worthwhile, but it's not being tipped out of balance where, oh my gosh, I love them. We have to be stable and grounded, and we have to be practical, and everybody has to have put in work and effort to be stable, like a healthy tree within themselves, operating from love and being willing to learn lessons in life, put in work and effort, work cooperatively with people, pay attention to the details, emotionally grow and mature yourself. But our more shadowy Aquarius energy and other people who are more shadowy Aquarius energy, that's maybe not their truth. And their truth might be that their foundation could be more inspired by being about themselves, repeating an old pattern like, well, I grew up with people who live life like this and we should live life like that. And it's like repeating an old pattern, or it's more about what you look like and what you wear and how much money you have. So what's going on? We have manifestation, caregiver, and the thief. Well, Virgo energy is kind of looked at, I think it's called the maiden. It's the only feminine zodiac's represented kind of by a feminine figure. So some people could look at Virgo as being a caregiver because they do put in work and effort into paying attention to the details and trying to make things work, and it's slow, putting in that slow, steady work of small, steady steps to move things forward. So maybe in our Virgo energy, you could look at it that, we have the free will to either, in our Aquarius energy, to live more from our mind than our heart, be more about the world, and put an end to harnessing a more high vibrational Virgo energy, because the bouquet card also says Virgo. If we want to live more from our mind than our heart, you have to kind of get out of your ego and your defensive nature to be willing to learn lessons in life, which is what Virgo energy is about in high vibe. And some people are like, nope, that's not my truth. I do not align with that. I might be full of myself. I might, in my Virgo energy, I harness the ending card is like the death card in tarot. And it could be, I really don't like to connect in with my emotions that much, or I'm kind of more about the superficial and shallow, and I might be more superficial and shallow. And I'm kind of, in my Virgo energy, my long-term goal is to be about myself, indulge in these things, have a certain status and image, look like I'm moving forward in life, maybe be a little deceptive and manipulative to try to get people to move forward with me in relationship, because I want these things of the world. High vibe Aquarius. The manifestation card is Gemini and Virgo. Gemini talks about our free will nature. And in high vibe, it could be, I want to work through. In the imprisonment card, we have a feminine figure imprisoned. And the feminine figures in tarot can represent how we think and feel. I want to free myself from things that manipulate me, because high vibe Virgo is also about being more independent. So what is our truth in our Aquarius energy? And apparently Virgo energy is very important. What is our truth? Are we more about ourselves and looking like a shining star in the world? Do we not care to put in the work and effort to free ourselves from things that manipulate us? Or are we inspired to free ourselves from things that manipulate us and get more connected in the moon card? In tarot, it kind of represents Pisces. This card says Cancer. Both Pisces and Cancer are emotional water sign energy, which can talk about more connecting in and investing in your more emotionally intuitive, creative nature instead of maybe trying to think you're smart and that you can control things and manipulate things. And also, in our dualistic nature, we're kind of more in our defensive nature or egoic nature and think we're pretty smart. And, pride comes before the fall. And I think we all initially in the world, we got a lot of growing up to do and a lot of lessons to learn. And we're pretty fired up about these things of the world that we want to go invest in, that we are sure, oh my gosh, that would be like a dream come true. I am sure that will make me happy. And so we go invest in a lot of things that we think will make us happy, and then those things don't really work out the way we wanted. And it's trying to get us to see that kind of like that wasn't, it could have been something that was fun and enjoyable and we kind of indulged in it, but it's really not conducive, like a good building block to take with us to move forward with, right? Like, if we were more about living more from our mind than our heart, and we tried to move forward, not really listening to our intuition, well, our intuition can be screaming at us, like, you shouldn't do that, that's a bad idea, you shouldn't take that job, you shouldn't hang out with these people, you should go do this instead. But, we kind of want what we want. And so we go invest in those things. And sometimes we go invest in things, again, the death card, Scorpio energy, also is emotional water sign energy, where maybe we didn't listen to our intuition because we were more caught up in these things of the world that we wanted to kind of manifest, that we thought for sure were going to make us happy or be successful or victorious or something. And we also could have not wanted to listen to our intuition, because this card, the Thief card, reminds me of the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, where the person in typical tarot is holding on to the 5 swords, and the 5, the 6, and the 7 are all Aquarius energy. So the 5 they're holding on to is like, I have a dream. But then there's the 2 swords there, which is Libra energy, about what is just and fair, and what is my truth, and am I listening to my intuition and truth and love to guide me? Or am I making decisions maybe more out of fear or insecurity or pride or ego or lust and greed? And we've all got lessons to learn about listening to our intuition. And so we maybe didn't do that, and some things didn't really work out the way we wanted. So we all have these things we want to manifest. Things don't work out the way we want, and then we kind of, have to nurture and love ourselves to get back up and pick up our dreams. In this card, the person isn't carrying the sword, so it's kind of like the swords are in the bag in a way, and like we're carrying them with us, like, okay, that didn't work, I'm going to move on. But the whole thing is when something didn't work, were we willing to deal with the truth of why it didn't work? Are there things in the foundation of ourself that maybe we would benefit from looking at more closely and maybe shedding light on them? Because Virgo energy talks about kind of looking at those things kind of buried underneath the foundation or in the surface of ourself that we kind of keep hidden in the dark, that we don't really want to look at. So when things don't work out the way we want, do we want to stay in kind of the 2 of Swords? I just want to stay in denial of the truth. I don't want to see why that didn't work out. Or we do listen to our intuition, and when we're kind of working in situations in our life, do we listen to our intuition? If our intuition tells us, I don't think our truth is the same. I kind of think we operate from different foundations. And maybe we can get in relationships with people who either like to play a caregiver role in our life, but then they don't really want us to listen to our intuition. They want to work with us and manifest with us, but they kind of want us to be imprisoned and not turn our back on listening to our intuition. So sometimes we can get in relationships with people who are like that, and we can get in relationships with them because they seem like they're maybe a caregiver and they're loving and nurturing, right? And then if you're a loving, nurturing person, you're like, oh my goodness, I found someone I can have my dreams come into reality. So initially, we move forward with those people, and that's what some people are doing right now. Some people are in relationships with people who are operating from the same foundation they are. Other people are in more mismatched relationships, and it's just, high vibe people kind of have learned, because of all these life experiences, to, as they go, to keep listening to their intuition. Like, are you coming with? Are we all on the same page? Wait a minute. Are you kind of staying back there and I want to move forward? Aren't we ready to move forward? And, sometimes when we're ready to move forward, some other people aren't ready to move forward. And then the Seven of Swords can talk about that we kind of have mental conflict, because it's like, well, I thought we were all going to kind of work through our mental conflict that we had, about moving forward to the next stage of bringing this dream into reality. And so then the imprisonment card is kind of like the Eight of Swords, and the 8 and the 9 and the 10 of Swords is Gemini energy, which is again about our dualistic nature. What's your truth? What's my truth? Are we both thinking the same thing? Is our truth the same? Do we have the same dreams? And we can go through a point, and some people are at that point in a relationship or a work situation where it's kind of like, we could have been loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging people to each other, but we're kind of, what's our truth in our Gemini energy of a free will? What is the truth of your foundation? Is it having more hope and faith and belief in yourself, in others, in love? Or is that something that kind of gets you, are you kind of in a mental prison about love? And maybe that's not your truth. Because some people don't want to do love because, for one, it might require them to put in work and effort to work through their fears or their insecurities that they have about trusting other people. Or do I really want to do love yet? Maybe I don't want to do love yet. Maybe I still kind of want to go work on my career. Maybe go indulge in the world some more, you know. And so sometimes that can be a sticking point, and some people could be kind of going through that right now. Some people have already realized that their truth was different than other people's truth. How they wanted to move forward was different. Some people could have felt like some people were deceptive and manipulative. They thought they both were focused on love. They thought they both... This, with the ending card and the tree card here, high vibe energy, and to move forward with people, say in a romantic relationship, you have to detach from a former foundation, right? And some people have other people in their life. It could be a friend group. It could be their original family. And some people really could they can't marry those people, but they could be more codependent on those people, and that they're still like the more primary foundation in their life. But they want to be in relationships with people And so then they could go get in relationships with people. But if it does require them and it gets to that point in a relationship where it would require them to become more independent, instead of having that other foundation be the primary foundation in their life, you know, here we have the moon, we have the birds, and we have the bouquet. This is like love. This is Sagittarius energy about going on an adventure and investing in this new beginning. Some people can have a lot of fear about that, because again, I don't know why it would be such a big deal unless they felt like the people in their life wouldn't like it. I think if I were to go live my more authentic life, even just being more independent, even if, and then they can have friends and family members or romantic interests and people in their life that they would like to go do these things in life with. But there could be people in their life that it's like they kind of could try to manipulate them. The manifestation cards, like the Magician card, which can be about trying to manipulate people. And they kind of like some people in their life to view them as like the people they should look to. Like, I am, the people you should look to, be more codependent on, right? And then those people could not like it when those people get in relationships with other people because they are becoming more independent, like flying the nest, And then those people could have fear that if those people go spread their own wings and go live their own life, and go on this new adventure, that they are just going to be more independent. And for some of them, it could bother them because they could try to they could just be more shadowy people. And more shadowy can be that we have our way of living life, and this is how we live our life, and we don't go do that. We do not listen more to love and intuition to guide us. We do not look at life as an adventure to be lived about learning lessons. And that's not our truth. In our Virgo energy, that's not our truth. We operate from this foundation, and it kind of gets us up in our head, so they could be people who operate more from their worldly, egoic, kind of caught up in the illusion of the world, and everybody has to live their life like this, and everybody has to conform to the world and these certain rules and regulations about how people live their life. And what if the other people were to really go live their more authentic life? And maybe then they won't be able to kind of manipulate and control them anymore. And some of those people, shadowy energy is competitive energy, it's controlling energy, it's bossy energy. And some people don't like that if people in their life are being more independent and free. And you could have dated some people who are like that. You could have even had friends like that, But for the people who might live their life a certain way or be married, say, if they're living their life a certain way and they view this as a just and fair way to live your life, it might not be a very deep, meaningful relationship. Like some people would say, no, you should play the caregiver role in people's life. It really doesn't matter if they're manipulating you. It doesn't matter if they're deceptive and manipulative. It doesn't matter if you're in a mental prison. If that person is like willing to be in a relationship with you, maybe for these things of the world, even if in shadowy Scorpio energy, it's emotionally shallow and superficial, or because they're intimidating and controlling, or they're abusive, or they're narcissistic, or whatever. Shadowy Scorpio can be shadowy emotional energy, so it can mean a lot of things, and anybody can harness that. or it's just more superficial and shallow, more about the world. If someone else really is more connected in with their emotional nature, their inspired nature, more less manipulated by things that manipulate some of these people, they cannot like that. Because when we are around people who, we can all view ourselves a certain way. We could view ourselves as these just and fair and stable and grounded and shining star people in the world, right? At whatever stage of life we're at. Well, what if someone comes along who's like, wow, they seem a little bit more connected in with their emotions than maybe we really are. Might be more creative or intuitive, might be more loving, might be more empathetic, might be more fiery, might be a little more adventurous, might be a little more carefree, might have learned some lessons in life that maybe we kind of haven't, but we didn't even realize it until some of these other people came around. Well, that can all kind of get us in our ego, right? Because we do like to view ourselves as a certain way of being. And then if other people kind of come around, and it can also kind of get us up in our head again about how we're living our life. And then that causes us mental conflict. And sometimes instead of dealing with our mental conflict about, you could even look at it like, say someone comes around and you and your friend group really don't like go for walks or ride a bike. And so basically this person could exercise, right, is what I'm saying. It could be like, wow, and they kind of seem kind of have more energy and a little bit more motivated and inspired than we are. It kind of can make us get up in our head a little bit. And for some people, it's not a big deal. It's like, I'm not going to kind of get my ego about it. They have their truth. They have their way they want to live their life. You go, girl. You go, boy. And we can all be friends and we can all get along anyway. But for some other people, a little bit more tipped in favor of the egoic nature and competitive nature, they don't like that other people might be doing things that in a way either they could want to do, or they just don't like to be around people who do things that they don't do. Maybe it makes them feel a certain way or something. And so then they can want other people to quit hanging around those people. And then some people, again, could kind of, in that Two of Swords of the dream, and the Two of Swords is Libra energy, which can be about trying to be a people pleaser. So anybody can harness that energy in their own Libra energy of self. It's like, well, gee, I have these people that I could love, and I want to be in a relationship with them. And then I can have these people that I love, and I want to be in a relationship with them. And then, it kind of gets to where people kind of have to decide. And even if it's, it can just be that, in a world of duality, of Gemini, we have free will to choose who we are going to more align with within ourselves. And then we have these different people in the world who kind of represent these different ways of being in the world. Am I going to hang out more with the people who are hopeful and believing and loving and encouraging? Or am I going to hang out with the people who might be more about indulgence or the world or ego or image? And some people right now could really be thinking about, because again, you have to make a choice. We have free will. And some people want both. And that can work for a while. But sometimes it does get to be where, especially if it's like a romantic relationship, where is your primary loyalty? And then even if some people are more motivated and inspired by love, but you're kind of, I'm okay playing the caregiver role, and I like being loving and nurturing and supportive to people, but I kind of like to live more from my mind than my heart. And if I were to move forward with the more loving people, that could seem like it'd be great, but I'm kind of in a mental prison about love. And if I were to do that, I do have to detach from this way that I'd always thought of living my life. Like, I maybe never even thought that was going to happen in my life, where I'd even have to invest more in investing in my emotional nature. Maybe I've hung around people where it really wasn't required, you know? And maybe I'd have to be more inspired and Aquarius energy to look at life from a different perspective than I've looked at it before. You know, and sometimes you have to detach. And we kind of went through the same thing, which I talk about all the time in my readings. You know, we had to do the same thing when we went from being age 15 to being 18, and 18 to being 21, and 21 to being 25. There was things we liked about that old way of living life, and it kind of makes us feel safe and secure, and we do have fear about facing our fears. The moon can also talk about our fears. It's like unknown territory. It's not lit up with the sun. I can't see. I haven't even been there before. I don't even know what's over there. You know, so it's scary. And that can be the Eight of Swords, that it's just scary to move forward in life differently. And so we're kind of tempted to repeat this old pattern and kind of stay in our comfort zone. But the whole thing is, you know, we kind of go through these phases of life. And it could have been great and exciting initially, but then it's kind of, there's nothing new to learn there in the death card. We kind of went through that phase of life. We kind of have been a 15 to 17-year-old as an analogy for long enough, you know, and it is kind of our more creative, inspired, intuitive nature saying, you know, this is, you might be staying in this more out of fear. You know, what about having that spark of life within you, you know, that says it's time to shed an old layer of myself and give birth and face my fears to go to that next stage of life and have some hope and faith and belief in myself that just like I have accomplished when I have moved forward in other ways in life, you know, we had to take on more responsibilities. We had to learn new things. Virgo energy about learning new things. And, you know, is everything we go pursue going to work out? Like, just like when we were young and we got our first job, we could have failed miserably at it, or it was way over our head, and we realized we kind of needed to go back to the drawing board, and we needed to maybe invest in growing and healing and maturing ourselves and putting life in perspective. Like, oh shit, I got to get there on time. What, I can't be hungover when I'm here? That doesn't work well, or whatever. You know, and you know, if we wanted to kind of, if we were motivated to want to conquer that next level of life, right? Because otherwise we can keep staying in our fear and our insecurities and, you know, teach our own. We're all going to learn lessons and everybody's on their own journey. But there could be some people right now that could be, gee, I have people in my life who I think would stay in a relationship with me, or I could stay at this job. And they seem to be loving and nurturing, but I kind of think they live more from their mind than their heart. And though there might be love there, it might be a little more superficial and shallow, or they don't want me to keep growing and healing and maturing myself and growing to my full potential, you know, and I could feel like if I stayed in a relationship with them, I would be creating more of an illusion, is what the moon can talk about, instead of in the sun living my more authentic life and being with people. Again, the sun, Leo energy, fire sign energy like Sagittarius. Let's see, over here we have no fire sign energy. We have air, air and earth, water sign. I guess success in love, we could probably look at that as the Two of Cups or all the emotional water signs of Cancer and Pisces and Scorpio, and then viewing the caregiver kind of as Virgo energy or King of Pentacles or Queen of Pentacles or something. But would we be kind of hiding our truth and not really living our truth? Would we have to hide not really going and pursuing some things that we would really like to go more invest our time, energy, and effort into, if that's your unique talent, skills, and interests, your careers, your friends, family? It just depends on how restrictive and limiting and controlling or manipulative or intimidating or whatever people are in your life, right? I think loving people love the people they're in a relationship with, and they try to encourage, that's fire sign energy, they try to, if they're intuitive and they know that people have some fears and insecurities about change, or know they feel more comfortable living a little more from their mind than their heart, and Scorpio can talk about how emotionally complex we are, and, is confusing, and know that some people really maybe don't like to deal with them that much because they think it's unimportant and they don't have to deal with them so much. Like, I can use my emotions when necessary and to a degree, but to really want to, high vibe Scorpios about exploring the mysteries of life emotionally, the highs and the lows. And if you go on this adventure and you ride the roller coaster of life emotionally, there's going to be highs and lows. And some people are like, maybe some people are afraid, I don't know if I could overcome, because high vibe Virgo is kind of like overcoming obstacles and mountains in your life. Maybe some people feel like if it didn't work out and I did invest myself emotionally, maybe I feel it would like more devastate me, and I wouldn't be able to pick myself back up again. And so I want to stay in my comfort zone. Do I want to be in relationships? Yes. But it can be more about using their emotions and their sexuality and their words and their charm and their money and all those things, male or female, to kind of create the illusion of love, but they don't really actually have to invest. Virgo is represented by the Knight of Pentacles carrying the pentacle, and in high vibe, the pentacle means you have learned these lessons in life, that it's about truth and love and justice and fairness and treating other people the way you want to be treated. And that is also being authentic. And that's what can get some people into trouble. And we all have lessons to learn about being more authentically ourselves and being more vulnerable. Some people more so than others. For some people, they're all in all the time, And some people could just have a much harder time trusting people. For some people, it's more out of their comfort zone, depending on the type of people they've grown up with or life experiences that they've had. Maybe they've had a lot of people. Some people have had people in their life who are more manipulative and create this illusion that they're this nurturing, stable, grounded person. And, they look at life from the bigger picture. But, people who are in relationship with them kind of felt like they couldn't be more emotionally authentically themselves, and they could have loved them, but the other people kind of keep all their emotions buried beneath the surface. So it kind of can look really victorious and successful, but just not even used to kind of dealing with people who are more emotionally connected, right? For some. Now, I see a different storyline here. Yeah. We can all come into relationships with people, and we can learn valuable life lessons from each other, and we can help each other kind of along our way. But some people did come into our life, and we kind of came into each other's lives because we could have had some, it doesn't have to be the same issues, but we were compatible enough, and we kind of felt Like, this is someone I think I can work with. We have a lot of things that we have in common. And could there have been love there? Yeah. But, life is again about coming into contact with all these different people to get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. Could everybody have been in a little mental prison to have ended a relationship, to let it go? Yeah. Are some people going through that right now? Yeah. But we all do want to live our truth. And, sometimes we say we're living life and we didn't even know about some things that kind of motivated and inspired us, or it kind of freed us to be more open, to really think about maybe more of what our truth was and what it wasn't, and maybe to get us back up on our feet again, to make us feel more confident within ourselves, more grounded within ourselves, to be willing to go out and live our more authentic life, if that is more high vibe or a little more worldly or a little more shadowy, you know. And the whole thing is, who wants to live a life of illusion? Could it have all been with the best of intentions? And then it's kind of like, you know, someone could have been hiding they were a little more immature, is what this could mean. And that they maybe were a little more inspired by the world than they even kind of realized. But if they get in a relationship with someone who's kind of more not as much about that, they can both put in work and effort to have stability and security. But it's kind of like the other person isn't caught up in like, oh, well, we've got to do this and we've got to act like this and we got to wear this. And the other person is more free spirited and they're kind of more motivated and inspired to step out of their comfort zone and move forward in life and keep moving forward differently. And the other person's like, that would be out of my comfort zone. Oh, it'd be fun, but oh my God. And then two, that means I got to do more work to work through more issues. And, sometimes it's kind of like, you're a couple pages or a couple chapters or a couple books ahead on lessons in life than I am. And maybe you kind of had more experience in different things in your life. Maybe I didn't. And then I feel like I don't have that experience and I don't think I can fake the next level, and I have fear of going to the next level. And maybe because you are more loving and more carefree, I'm afraid maybe I get up in my head if you would love me, and I'm afraid that one day so that's getting up in your head, that I'm afraid you're going to end a relationship with me because we do seem kind of different, and I'm afraid when you meet someone who's more like you're going to want to get in a relationship with them, and maybe I should be in a relationship with someone who's kind of more motivated or on the same perspective or whatever as me. So everybody can be sad, but sometimes as maybe more time goes by, people come to more of a place of peace about it, just because that can take a long time. You just high vibe people deal with the truth of it. I don't want someone to be in a relationship with me creating an illusion. If they're not really motivated and inspired by love, shadowy, this could be people who kind of create an illusion of love, but it is kind of indulging themselves in the relationship. And so long as it looks good and the status or the ego or the image, they stay in it. It's like, I really want someone who's inspired to be in a relationship with me because they love me. And so then I don't really want to stay in the relationship with the people who don't really seem to be about that and do seem more about the ego and the image. And those people could think, oh my God, you're like an idiot. Why are you leaving this? This has everything that you should want. And it's like, by worldly standards, it does seem like I have manifested a dream come true, but you seem to not so much freely giving and loving of yourself. And I think it is kind of more about these things. And I don't know that it's love. It's like, yeah, but I like being in a relationship with you. It's like, you might like being in a relationship with me, and I might kind of like being in a relationship with you, but I want to be in a relationship with someone who more freely gives of themselves, more authentically inspired by love. Not because they're attracted to me and want to have sex with me and it looks good by worldly standards. And other people are like, it is all about creating an illusion in the world. Isn't that why people get in relationships? Don't people want these things and trying to find someone that it kind of works out kind of good enough and, compatible enough and, But then some people also never want to heal or grow or mature themselves, and you might know they have some issues that kind of affect how they operate in a relationship that is not conducive to a loving relationship, but they might want to keep staying in denial of it. Again, they could be kind of immature. They could take immature action in a relationship, like if they get up in a mental prison about something and get up in their head, then it could be like maybe they want to go indulge in other things that they love. It could be other people, things they want to indulge in, or want to feel better by thinking they want to get in a relationship with someone else, right? It's like, yeah, those things eventually kind of kill a relationship. Some people could have thought, and this is quite shadowy people, I don't think most people would think this, but some people do try to manipulate people to get into a relationship with them. And then once they think they have them trapped and that person is emotionally invested in the relationship, then they think, perfect, I don't have to keep putting in work and effort. Because, like I mentioned, Aquarius energy is fixed sign energy, Scorpio is fixed sign energy, Taurus is fixed sign energy, and Scorpio, well, anyway, that other people who do really invest in a relationship, they put a lot of work and effort to try to make a relationship work, to maintain balance in it, to move it forward, to make it loving and encouraging and supportive, to bring that dream into reality. And they're like, perfect, I kind of got this person in the zone and putting in these steps to make this relationship work, and then they think they can just coast. Create an illusion, I'm still on board with you, pumpkin. But then it's more kind of indulging themselves in the relationship while someone else is more putting in the work and effort. And then, I don't know, they can focus on just maybe being more about themselves or the world or living in their head or working through or just sitting. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, but then, it's kind of this thing where now that I have you in it and you're putting in this work and you're kind of caught up in the illusion of who I am and you're invested in this dream, then some people, that's when they will kind of test the limits to see, what can I get away with? And you won't kind of call judgment on me in the death card, right? And so then it's like, well, can I do this? Oh, you're still willing to kind of tolerate that, like kind of ignore it. Let's just create an illusion that never happened. Okay, I did see that you were immature, and I saw you were kind of bossy or controlling, or you were trying to do some deceptive, manipulative stuff, hoping I'd be up in a mental prison, and yes, I was in a mental prison, but because I love you, I don't want to end the relationship, so I keep putting in work and effort to make it work, and they're like, this is great. Well, for some people who are immature that even do that in a relationship, of always kind of testing the limits, there might come an opportunity where they think, I think I could do more things. And I think that because you love me, that even if I were to go do those things, and even if the relationship ends, I think you'll maybe go be in a mental prison, and I can go do what I want to go do. And then if that doesn't work out, because you're such a loving, nurturing person, I can just come on back because you're in a mental prison and I know you're a loving person and you didn't want this dream to end. And so, but then if they were to do that, and some people might try to do that right now with some people, they're kind of under the illusion that the people they left are still inspired by them and wanting to invest in that dream with them. But while they were off doing what they were doing, the other people were really confused. I can't believe that this person who I viewed as being the certain type of person who I thought was stable and grounded and aligned with truth and love, and I had this complete illusion that they harnessed high vibe Virgo energy and high vibe Aquarius energy and all these other signs. But that isn't what someone who loves you does. People who love you don't want you in a mental prison. People who love you don't try to manipulate you and intimidate and control you. Or shadowy Scorpio can also be acting like a private detective in a relationship. They've learned more lessons than that. Someone who's really who I thought they were. And so then people have to do all this work, and they offer love to themselves to work through their Scorpio emotions, to all the emotional confusion and all the contradictory emotions and everything, and to invest in the truth and investing in themselves and knowing their worth and value and what they bring to the table, and listen to their intuition and again love themselves, to be inspired to see the truth and move on from these people. To work through their own fears, insecurities, and codependent, more immature nature, and all those things, and their worldly nature, all the things that can tempt us to keep staying in a relationship. To be inspired to take the lesson they learned. Their truth is different than my truth, which basically is, what they think is just and fair is different than what I think is just and fair. And maybe they are immature, maybe they are more fearful and insecure, maybe they are in a prison about love, but they need to work through all that. And until they do, this is their kind of way of functioning in a relationship. High vibe people offer truth and love and treat other people the way they like to be treated because they have learned that's the best answer. But some people who haven't learned those answers think, like, I have an idea. They're not seeing things clearly because they have some growing up and maturing to do. Sagittarius is about higher learning and education, but some people are immature and they got to go on a journey and repeat and do some life lessons to learn some lessons. And some of those people, when they get up in their head, they don't listen to their intuition. And then they could get in their fear. Do people love me? And are these people going to leave? And it sabotages a relationship. Well, high vibe people know how to care for themselves, to get them out of their head and their fear and their insecurity, to focus more in an energy of love, to not take action from a more shadowy foundation, and instead listen to their intuition and communicate maybe their truth to people and work together with people and listen to their intuition about what those people say. But some people can get up in their head, and then shadowy Scorpio, wanting to explore the mysteries of life and the hidden realms, that's where they think, I'm going to go spy on this person and all these things. When you should just listen to your intuition. Do the people in your life seem to be loving and encouraging and supportive? Then work together with them. Enjoy your life. If nobody is giving you an indication, but it's your own fear and your insecurity, how differently do you act in a relationship when you're all up in your fear and insecurity versus if you work together with people in truth and love? And if you think, oh my gosh, I just don't trust this person, then get out of it. You know? But some people just sabotage a foundation because they so want to know what's hidden underneath the surface. It's kind of like invading people's privacy because they want to know more. And it's like, we could talk. I'm around you. We see each other all the time. That's not enough. Well, it's like being deceptive and manipulative, and you think that is a good idea to know more than you need to know? Would they like someone doing surveillance on them? Like, how much do you need to know about a person's life, Some people who do that could be doing that again in a relationship. Anyway, some people who did some shadowy things, they probably tried to, the moon can be about, again, not wanting to illuminate the truth, and it can be trying to confuse people about the truth of why some people moved on and why a relationship ended. And they, of course, might say that other people are more immature or shadowy or bossy or controlling. The high vibe people know the truth, and it's believing the truth will come to the surface eventually. And odds are, if they have some poor habits and patterns, it will probably come out in the next relationship, And I know the truth, and I don't have to try to tell other people and convince other people of the truth because everybody in the world is going to believe what they believe, kind of more based on the type of person they are. If they're people who know they don't know everything that goes on behind closed doors and are kind of intuitive about things that can happen in relationships and how people can be and know the people well enough, they're going to know that, I don't know everything. I wish you all the best anyway. And the people who are more judgmental and don't like change and don't like other, and especially if they're tolerating some bullshit, well, they're going to align with that people should stay in bullshit. But that's an injustice. And the divine tries to get us to listen to our intuition to realize this is unjust and unfair. They are not operating from truth and love. They are being kind of deceptive and manipulative and immature. And you are meant to go on this adventure, and high vibe people listen to a higher truth and justice than kind of more the worldly perspective, and they listen to their intuition. So some high vibe people are in relationships and their friendships with the high vibe people. They work through these issues. If they ever sometimes wonder, maybe because of conflict, maybe with some other people, like say you're a friend and people can both be married or something like that, and maybe the person in their life kind of wants them to make their life just more about them. It's like, I think I can have other people in my life too. Are they willing to stand up for themselves? Sometimes some people could challenge, again, other people, even if it's a friend, in kind of how they view life, and could want to do some things that is just like, is a little out of their norm, and then they got to work through that. But the people in our life, we don't all have to think the same. We don't have to be inspired by the same things. We find the things that we do enjoy together, and we still enjoy time together, and we let everybody live their life. And the people who are shadowy, if they're both shadowy, they both are trying to deceive and manipulate each other to get them to maybe stay in the relationship because they have a fear of maybe having a new beginning, and they might not love the people, but they want to be in a relationship and it's good for their ego and image or their stability and security, so they might stay in it. And sometimes we're in situations that we don't want to be in, but everybody has to listen to their own intuition of when they feel they are stable and grounded enough so that when they make that decision to leave that job, friendship, or relationship, they are ready to go. And we all have to listen to our intuition about when that should be. And for the people that are in a mismatch situation, both people could kind of be in a little mental prison. The more shadowy people are afraid that the other people are loving and believing in themselves, and they kind of don't like that, and they'd like to stop that. And the high vibe people are a little bit in a mental prison because they do love them, but they don't want to keep repeating this old pattern. And, maybe just seeing how things go. But if people aren't willing to invest to be more inspired by truth and love, I would think, even if it's in a workplace, to really kind of put more work and effort into it than people are, because they love the job and want to stay there. But, it's kind of, I do what I can do, but I don't do as much as I would if I was someone who took more pride and self-satisfaction from a job well done. Some of those people might think of letting some of those people go. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they might not see coming up? They're listening to their intuition. They're making peace with the past to accept the truth. Everybody is where they're at. I'm not going to take it personally. If I had lessons to learn about myself, I've learned them. Everybody else got to learn their lessons. If they've already moved on in other loving, wonderful relationships, peace be with you. You'll be a good role model for me. But I believe the divine has a plan for my life, and I am going to keep moving forward in that energy. The Queen of Wands and the Strength card. Why? Because of the King of Swords. So, because high vibe people want to get to the truth. They don't like staying confused and manipulated, and they don't like feeling trapped and imprisoned, and they don't like being in their fear, and they don't get tired of stagnancy, that they want to get to the truth. And so they listen to their intuition and they get inspired to put in that work and effort to start taking steps in the direction they want to go. That's the Virgo and the direction card. If this isn't working out the way I want, I have to accept the truth of it. And I don't, in the moon card, there's bigger things at play, and, people have their things buried in their subconscious, and what drives and motivates them that we don't know. And then the moon can represent there's a bigger plan at play that we don't know. And it's kind of like if you do have belief in a higher power, that at the big picture, God knows what we want to manifest, knows what they want to manifest, knows what our truth is, what their truth is, and we might not even know it yet. But if we keep moving forward in hope and faith and listening to our intuition, not indulging our more immature, shadowy nature, that's when it will be revealed, and life is this adventure to go on. So with the King of Swords, you were wanting to get to the truth, and you did that work to get balanced within yourself. And because of that, you are now in the Queen of Wands and the Strength card. Both of these I view as Leo energy, which is aligned with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature, loving yourself, tempering your own ego, your own fears. Because again, we could have been in more codependent energy where we are looking for people to play that role in our life. And then it's much more devastating when it doesn't work out because we don't really know how to be a caregiver to ourselves. And then we can just go get in another relationship that we maybe really shouldn't have gotten into because we keep thinking that's the answer. We keep not wanting to see the truth. So we go indulge in these things of the world and other people thinking they're the answer to our problems when the answer lies within us. We need to learn to love ourselves, and we need to learn to stand up for ourselves, and we need to get balance within ourselves, and we need to learn how to offset our own fears and insecurities and stand up for our truth to get the justice we deserve. And that's what some people are doing. And I think as the high vibe people move forward in that energy, they're harnessing these energies in a high vibe way. They're offering truth and love to people, working together with people in a just and fair way, tempered in their ego, not being in shadowy energy of trying to manipulate people or boss people or whatever. They're being authentic and loving and warm and just and fair. And will there be some people that will see you who would kind of like to maybe be in a relationship with you? Yeah, but they know that that's not their truth. And it would require them to be in that energy. And that's not their truth. So they're just going to keep creating an illusion and living life the way they live it and investing in how they want to live their life. But they might not want to be more authentic. They might not want to be more just and fair. They might not want to temper their fears or their ego or their bossy or controlling nature. And they're going to go find someone who they think they can be in that kind of more shadowy energy with, some of them. But other people who've also dealt with some more shadowy people, their intuition could tell them that they should communicate with you and invest in you because you are someone, whether in the workplace or friendship or otherwise, is someone who kind of doesn't have an ulterior purpose other than to get to know people and see who is more stable and balanced and just and fair and supportive and encouraging and fun to be around. And some of those people, some of the people in your life and some of the people who will come into your life are people you're willing to stand up and defend, and people who are willing to stand up and defend you because you are authentic and loving and warm and just and fair and truthful. Okay, what's coming up for some of the people who might harness a more shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming up? The Six of Cups. Why? Because of the Knight of Swords. So, the Knight of Swords in Gemini energy, in their free will nature, a knight would have learned less lessons than a king, and the masculine figures in tarot can just represent how people are presenting themselves in the world, and for high vibe people, it is the truth of who they are. But we all have lessons to learn in life, and in tarot we have the pages and the knights and the kings and the queens and the emperor and the empress and stuff like that. And a knight would just has more lessons to learn. And so they keep defending, wanting to repeat this pattern of the past is what the Six of Cups can talk about. And again, we'll all repeat a pattern because we don't want to detach from that foundation and way of living life and what we invest our time, energy, and effort into and the truth that we have. Because so far, it's kind of like their intuition kind of isn't inspiring them to move forward in life differently because it's not time. You can't, until they have learned the lessons they've learned, that's when their intuition could be telling them, you should be doing some work and maybe, work through some of these issues, but they're still not seeing the truth. And the truth sets us free. Once they start to see that some ways that they operate from or people they invest in, that's not their truth, or they see they need to change that truth, that's when, they'll be ready to do this work. But that can take years and decades, and some people will never do it. So they want to keep repeating a pattern of a way of interacting in the world. And it could just be a more immature way of being. And I think some more worldly, shadowy people always have more high vibe people in their life. And the King and the Queen of Swords send the Knight of Swords. And some high vibe people who have been wanting and communicating with them, the knights can be what we fight for. They have some high vibe people in their life that have been trying to tell them, if you would make peace, is what the Six of Cups can talk about, if you would work through some of these issues from your past so you can come to a place of peace about it. Offer love to it. Work through the emotional confusion. Work through some of those things that you kind of keep hidden in the dark and buried beneath the surface. And it could set you free to go on this new adventure. But as long as you keep not wanting to deal with the truth about things within yourself, or see the truth about the type of people you have been in a relationship or will keep getting in a relationship with, you're going to keep repeating the same pattern. And it's probably not going to keep working out the way you want. And some of these people are romantic interests and would like to be in a relationship with them. But since they keep repeating that old pattern, some of the people in their life are going to become defensive to them because they see the truth. You have the free will to work through these issues, to be more independent of repeating this old pattern. But you keep choosing to repeat that old pattern, which could be not working cooperatively with people. And other people are trying to work with them cooperatively in that more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And they keep being defensive to that. And eventually people in their life say, you know what, I wish you peace. I hope it works out for you, but I'm moving on. And because they keep not wanting to see the truth, they're going to go repeat this pattern again. And they might get in a relationship with, they'll either go try this pattern again with someone else who's maybe more loving and nurturing and try to manipulate that person. Or someone who has money or status or image, just depends on kind of what they're looking for at the moment. But eventually, they're probably going to end up in a relationship with someone like themselves, who's kind of maybe on the same emotional maturity level as them. And that would be a just and fair relationship. But if people who are more hiding the truth of who they are, and trying to get in relationships, it's kind of like someone trying to get a job that they're not qualified for, and then kind of lying about their qualifications, and then they get in the relationship, and eventually the people in the relationship kind of see the truth that they don't have the qualifications. This is above their skill level. And then they move on. Get in a relationship with someone who's kind of more on the same page as you, and maybe together, they'd be able to work through some of those issues. But some people, because they want to look like a shining star in the world, and it can kind of be like social climbing, but I want to look like I have this certain status and image and blah, blah, blah. So they, get in these relationships, kind of try to steal from the people, learn traits and characteristics of how they act and how they act and how they dress. And then they take that on the road, put on a show, and try to create this illusion about who they are. But other people listen to their intuition, and eventually people see through the illusion. And for the people who are trying to manipulate someone, they could have presented themselves to someone who is kind of in a mental prison, they thought anyway, if they were or not, who might have experienced an ending, who they thought would kind of more buy into the illusion of who they were in order to manipulate someone else. And there's some people going out in the world right now trying to do that, just getting in a relationship with one person to try to stop someone else from loving and believing in themselves, to have them in a mental prison, to put an end to kind of living their life the way they wanted, and to get back in a relationship and do the relationship the way these shadowy people wanted. For some of those people, that didn't work, and the other people moved on. Now some of these people might have to stay in a relationship with someone they created an illusion that, look how wonderful our life is, and oh, I'm so happy, and I'm so happy I got out of that other relationship. But if those other people would have been willing to come back, they probably would have gotten in a relationship with them again. I'll just create some illusion. So long as the person who comes back is willing to hide that I was kind of more immature or intimidating or controlling or abusive, because I might want to look like a shining star in the world and I have an image to maintain. But if those people aren't willing to do that or come back, some of those people are going to have to stay in a relationship that they got into to try to manipulate someone else. And it could be a relationship they really don't want to be in. Maybe also because that person isn't loving and nurturing and warm and just and fair like the other one is. They're more like them. And that person can be kind of bossy and controlling and manipulative and deceptive and immature. But that might be the type of relationship they end up having to stay in because that's kind of where they're at. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.